Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Be My Own Boss podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hruby, and looking forward to talking with you today about something that has probably crossed your mind from time to time. Is where is my independent contractor heading? Where am I going with this? Where does driving, where does consulting, where does selling, where does managing by the hour, where does all that lead to? And today we're going to dig into those things. There are two places I can draw some experience from, looking from where we are now to out 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Personally, I've been self-employed for over 40. Probably shouldn't say that, but I started when I was minus 5 years old. And I also work with a fellow you probably know. Hang on just a second. There we go. This one's a stray. There we go. Hello, traveler. Welcome to the show. Good to see you as always. The other one is a fellow that I work with closely. Many of you know him, Steve Johnson from Rideshare Rodeo Podcast. Steve is building a remarkable career for himself. He did not ask me to say nice things about him. It's very easy to do, but he's an object lesson of what it looks like to be on a growing career path that has lots of opportunity. So there's something to learn from two examples, and I'd like to share a couple of thoughts with you. It's both fun and sometimes it's discouraging. Like, where does all this lead? All I do is collect invoices. All I do is, deliver pizza, whatever. It seems small at the time, but you're gaining experience, and you get paid in life for applying the experience you've acquired to practical problems. So what you're trying to do all the time is get as much experience as you possibly can and then apply it as many places as you can make good money at. So it's very simple, but it does help build some context, so it's not like, oh man, Friday, where did this week go? What's going on? It's more of, wow, we're going to have an amazing week next week too. So it's more of that. I see the Capital One commercials everywhere. You have too. What's in your wallet? And I think it's very clever. But I have an answer. And I have an answer for you as an independent contractor, as self-employer, is what's in your head is even more valuable than what's in your wallet. And that's the whole idea of a career, is to harvest some of that increase in value. Very often you don't see it. It's going from job to job or day to day, and it's where your value gets added. So let's take a look at a couple of fundamentals. Is that independent contracting, it's usually in the services, uses project experience to build value for you. Once you learn how to see this, you can see that a project that you do, if it's a delivery, if it's an analytic, if it's make some sort of decision, it's to create a visual or an experiential experience for people. That's adding to you as much as it's adding value to your client, and it comes in subtle ways. But I'm assuring you that it does happen, and that you get a big picture. Eventually, you'll see a much bigger picture of what you're doing and where your value is. So today is like click that lighter, and get that fire burning, and so you can recognize that what you do is adding value. And if you look for it, you'll see that it's there all the time. And then you'll see even more opportunities. So higher income is the first thing that you can think of as to where it's going to go. And you might say, well, I can't swing a bigger deal, and I'm just getting what people will pay me and all that. There are a lot of complaints about that. One thing that Steve does, and a number of drivers that I've ridden with, is that they have a lot of apps, and they choose from them, and they're pretty sophisticated about what they do. And that's a day-to-day manifestation of you're always looking for a better opportunity. You're looking for a deal that you can compare and against, you can't make a better choice if you have only one choice. So you got to get more alternatives. And the financial game is very simple. You're in the hours business because you're going to spend those hours no matter what. Whether you lie on the couch and, on the beach or go to work or whatever, times a billing rate of what you charge the market. Now, that's different from telling the market what your billing rate ought to be. Completely different. It's that you have a billing rate that target for your time that you would like to earn. And of course, the best way to do that is not sell your time, but sell your results. And then you can sell more and more results. The faster you work and the better you know things and the better you can price it, you can sell more work in a shorter period of time, and your bottom line 1040 income goes up steadily that way. So you have to get in control of what you sell. A lot of you guys are anguished about the platforms, and there are ways around that. When I used to work on Upwork, you could see some of the clever people. You could see how they priced the jobs, and they were the ones that did well were also the ones that were more expensive, but they got the job done faster and better. So the understanding how to play that game is the basic. As you make more money, you're like your career more. It's just sort of natural, so because it's a reward. The second thing that you gain with independent contracting is you get industry expertise, even if you only do the same thing for the relatively same people all the time. You acquire an understanding of all the nuts and bolts that are in that business from the perspective of everybody in it. And that industry expertise, which you measured in sort of this, am I the go-to guy or am I the go-to gal? Am I the most important person or the most knowledgeable person or the easiest to deal with of anybody these people know? That's value added to you. And you can harvest that. Another way to go at this is to say, I want to solve bigger problems. And there are bigger problems is definitely an important way to look at what you're doing. I have a nonprofit in post my for-profit years, and we have gone at the urging of the board. We've moved from Massachusetts only problems to national problems. My pay hasn't gone up, but my scope and my effectiveness has gone way up over time as we've dealt with a bigger problem. So there is that ahead of you. You can say, I can do other stuff in addition. And you become worth more, and you have a lot fewer competitors. Now, as you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, and I hope you like it, you're going to have the opportunity to do other types of work. People will say, hey, what about this? Your family, your friends will say, hey, what about that? And try to approach each one as like, maybe I should say yes to that. Because you make money in this world. You get paid for your experience if the experience jumps a corporate silo, one of those functions. They talk about marketing, that's a function. They talk about finance, that's a function. Operations, strategy and planning, regulatory, accounting, all of these are functions. And if you can work in several of them, even in the same industry, you're going to do better because you'll know how to solve problems that mix the two things together. That's what management always complains. I got a bunch of specialists. I need a generalist who can make sense of this. How do I tear this apart? And maybe that's you. So if somebody comes along, whatever you're doing, and offers some way to work that gives you more responsibility in a different area. Remember, it only takes one job to be an expert. Believe me, that's true. But it is, and you get early in my consulting career, I was asked to do work in something called. I came in from the marketing, and I was pretty siloed. I was in marketing and sales. That's fun. Okay, bunch of financial cats all around me. And they said, we want you to do a project in management control. I had no idea. I was in with a bunch of MBAs. I had no clue as to what management control was. I got to work with one of the top professors. He what am I going to do with this guy? It was fascinating. I have never been the same since I got exposed to that entire different silo. Management control is not the same as financial control. Management control is focusing on what is it we're trying to do and how can we measure it. It's not financial, it's functional, and it is fabulous I blundered into it. But then I realized, oh man, this is fantastic what I know, because you can then look at marketing and say, no, not budget up, budget down, but you can say, what are we trying to accomplish? And what are our metrics? And all of a sudden you sound smarter because you are smarter, and you've brought in a whole different corporate functional perspective. So you can keep your eye out for that kind of opportunity and add it in. Now, I look over at Steve Johnson. He's at Rideshare Rodeo. And while he's driving, and he drives crazy, man, he drives all over the West. And I mean, Montana, I have no idea how far south he goes, but it's all over. And at the same time, he's doing this very, very active and high-level podcast interviewing of all kinds of people in the rideshare and related industries. And he's adding communications, a gifted skill at communications onto everything he knows about rideshare. And then within communications, he's quite good at all the different technical stuff that you have to do in the software, and how to, the different layers of skills. So there's a lot of value added every single day, whether driving or podcasting, to Steve Johnson's value and what's in his head. It's phenomenal. I hope you follow him and watch his podcast, get to know him. It really is terrific to see someone like that getting ahead, doing exactly what his career would say if his career could speak. As you get exposed to all of these other things, you're going to have people are going to offer you employment, and you might say, I don't want that. But you should keep your ears open and talk to someone who wants to talk with you about it. And it may not be, it's not that it's always going to be a great deal, but that sometimes one time it might be, and you never know. And sometimes the guy says, I'm not sure how much I can offer, but I could probably do 185. You're thinking, what? No, it's 185,000. So it makes a difference, but who knows? But it gives you an idea of what your commercial value is, even if you don't take the offer. Always helpful, because when you know what your value is, you can charge other people at that value or work towards that. So it gives you confidence, and it gives you another member of your network, another snapshot of you and your value. Doing all this, your network expands. There's another form of value added. Some of the most capable, most savvy people in Washington, D.C. that I know of are phenomenal networkers. They really know where everybody is and who to go to for different things, and they keep their network alive and alert and connected and energized and aware. And networking is a skill. You can start with one person, one friend, one relative, and you can network, and you can add to your skill and your network size. All of that adds value to you. Plus, you learn how to network, and that's a whole nother skill. Additionally, you can supervise others. Now, this was something that I did very little in my years before I became a consultant and had my own firm and was fully self-employed. But if you get a chance to supervise others, it's definitely a skill. People will definitely judge you by it. They will. It adds a dimension of both behavioral and a personal understanding that makes you much more valuable. People will say, well, has he, before they give you any employees, if you wind up being offered to work for someone, they'll say, have you ever supervised anybody? And it's a killer question if they're really looking for an answer that's yes, and you have to say no. So one thing you can do to solve that is in your independent contracting work, find a way to hire someone part-time, even a little, even if it's just an accountant who will do some work for you, or someone in marketing to do your website or your communications or your logo or something. Get some experience helping people do their job, supervising them, assigning them tasks, learning their personality. How do I fit that? What's the tempo? What can I expect? Where's the limit? Where do I draw the lines? All those things add to your value. Once you've been a supervisor, you will always have been a supervisor, and that is value added. And very few people think of it that way. They always think, oh, no, I wouldn't want to do that. Actually, it's terrific experience, because the next step is actually to hire someone, particularly if you're an independent contractor. When you can keep another person busy and paid, you're going to make a lot more money, because to be perfectly candid, in private, you are going to be able to charge a boss tax, and the boss actually makes more revenue from the person that is doing the work than they do. Now, you take care of a lot of services in exchange for that, but you also handle a lot more money, and you see things differently, and you grow in responsibility very quickly. You have to keep capital for the person. You have to give them a place to work. You have to keep them busy. You have to pay them when they're not working. You have to pay them when they're sick. There's all kinds of, and they got to pay them to redo the work if they do it wrong. So the premium's on you to make it right the first time. So supervising others and hiring others is a major step up in your potential to add value. You can't believe. I had a firm of 12 people, staffers, at the maximum, and you just can't believe that you can go from a position of being basically having no money to basically having more money than your bills require. And that's a very, very satisfying, very satisfying feeling. So any way you can get this first supervising experience is a good way to do it. I advise you to tiptoe in if you're a little apprehensive. Get a part-timer, get somebody get a referral to somebody who's reliable. Find out something you don't want to do about your business and get help doing it. All of that will, God, it seems like agony sometimes. I remember when one of my youngest and brightest stars on the staff came in drunk on Monday morning one time, and for some reason he was very embarrassed by it, but he said, I'll sober up by noon or something. I said, you are not billable. You go home. But sit in the parking lot for a while and work that buzz off, because you're not working here today. I didn't dock him. It never happened again, and I knew it, and he knew it. But you get used to the funniest damn things. But that's what growth and value added is. I dealt with bankruptcy attorneys on the other side of a deal one time. And when you see a deal fail and you see that people are, you get the experience of working with someone who you thought was perfectly fine and they wind up being perfectly not fine, then you learn a lot. And let me tell you, when you get kicked in the shins like that, that's experience that you never forget, and you learn how to smell that a mile away. As you do these services, you're gonna think about this funny, but there's a linkage in business planning that services create a demand for certain products, just as certain products create a demand for services. Apple is the best practitioner of this. They know when you buy an iPhone, you're also going to buy apps, and they specially built the entire business around selling you apps and helping you do things with their device, but they're selling services too. Amazon knows this with AWS. Those are such profitable businesses. It's remarkable, but you can also go the other way. You're in the service business, and you can come up with products. Maybe it's collateral. Maybe it's a rideshare rodeo hat, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a tool. Maybe it's software. Guys do that, and all of those things give you an opportunity to move up and to broaden your reach and your effectiveness and increase your offerings. So keep your eye out for, is there software? We're dealing with a guy who sells a software package that he wrote himself online. It's called Creator Buddy, and it helps you do tweets on Twitter. And the guy was in just the service business of getting paid for monetizing, and he said, God, people have all kinds of problems, and we can help them solve them. So with this software, working like a maniac, he sold it. He's now got a $500,000 a year business, and it's going to do nothing but grow. It is fantastic, and it's a product. That product makes money when Alex is on the beach or driving his Cybertruck. So keep that in mind. It can happen in many different industries. So the whole game in this is to ask yourself almost every day, what else can I do that's valuable? And then you can plan it, you can consider it, you can pursue it, or you can decide not to. But even those little projects for yourself, you learn by doing that. And my personal experience is any and all of this can happen. So 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you absolutely have no idea what you're going to be able to do from the position you're in. But the purpose of today's discussion is be open to the opportunities that are going to come by you, because they don't often come again. They don't come twice. Different ones will. Different ones will come. Don't bite at a loser and then realize, oh, I got involved with something and here comes the winner that I really want. You can smoke that out. So anyway, if there are questions, I would love to take them. And I want to give you a little bonus here and talk about no capital capitalism. And that's what we're all doing together. We're making our start from wherever position. We're entrepreneurs, and this is how entrepreneurs do it. And if you're like everybody else in this business, you're strapped for cash. And I want to reassure you in this module, that is completely normal. That's how the game is played. Apple has billions. IBM has billions. Intel has billions. Amazon has probably trillions. But our business doesn't use cash. Matter of fact, if you start investing cash in it, it doesn't work out well because the business can't actually handle it. So you find ways like investment or manufacturing or other things that do require capital. You learn to use those, and best thing to do is open a savings account. Be the most security you've had. And don't worry about the interest rate at first. Don't worry about investing, just savings, because every dollar you have is a dollar further from having the wolf at your door. The sector you're in, independent contracting, there's 76 million of us, full-time, part-time, moonlight, and sometimes. And we are responsible for over $1.5 trillion, and we made that money with almost no capital investment. And as a matter of fact, if you get smart, you're taking cash out of the business rather than putting it in. And that'll be the case for a long time. Don't feel bad about it. Don't try to unwrite that rule. Take the money and enjoy it and save it, and you're going to make amazing things happen for you in your life. So remember, we're in the no capital business. Don't jump out of it thinking, oh, I need to invest in this. You're investing up here. So now I'm going to go back to where we started and say, it's what's in your head that's worth more than in your wallet. Remember it, because it's true. And the more you can pack into your head, the bigger you can pack, more you can pack into your wallet. It works that way. So, not seeing any questions yet in the chat. I want to thank you so much for following this. Be sure to leave comments in the chat. We're going to leave there'll be live comments and comments afterwards. I'd like you to punch the like button, punch the subscribe button, and turn on alerts so you can join us. And as a teaser, next week's episode is going to be the question that I get in person: where's the economy going, Mike? And we're going to talk about that relative to independent contractors and people who are being their own boss. So with that, I'm going to say thank you. It's been great to be here. Join us next episode 39 of Be My Own Boss. This is the podcast, and I'm your host, Mike Hruby, signing out and saying thank you very much. It's been great being here with you. Good luck. See you in the next episode.